everyone, welcome back to Headlines here on Geek Space. It's me, Danny, and as promised, we are talking about something that's not video games this week. We're talking about the new DC movie Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix and directed by Todd Phillips, which now has won the Golden Lion, the highest jury prize at the Venice Film Festival. So the truth is, I'm not super interested in talking about the movie itself because it's going to be good. You know, it's directed by Todd Phillips, a director who I like. It's starring Joaquin Phoenix, an actor who I love. Zazie Beetz is in it. You know, Martin Scorsese was involved for a little bit. There's a lot of good in the mix. What I really want to talk about is what this means for DC films in the future, because this Joker movie was kind of this weird side thing, this side shoot that nobody really knew if it was going to be good or not. So the whole development thing started out back basically in 2016. With Todd Phillips pitching a Joker movie to DC as a standalone film with him coming off of War Dogs. Up to that point, DC had kind of been machinating their DC Extended Universe, which is their version of the Marvel Cinematic Universe style thing, which, you know, came from Man of Steel, then Batman vs. Superman, then Wonder Woman, and then now has culminated in Justice League. So Todd Phillips essentially wanted to do a singular standalone movie, which didn't really fit their strategy. And to his credit, the project had a lot of good people on board. Scott Silver helped write it. Martin Scorsese co-produced it. There was a lot of talent behind this thing. There was also discussion of who was going to play the Joker. They talked about Leonardo DiCaprio for a little bit until basically Martin Scorsese sort of stepped away from the project, and then they decided on Joaquin Phoenix, who has been in a lot of phenomenal movies recently, been in a lot of Academy Award nominated movies, and it's really interesting because this movie goes totally against the strategy that DC had been pursuing up to this point. Somewhat ironically, their last Joker film, which was also an Academy Award winner when you think about it, the Suicide Squad, reviewed terribly. Critics hated it, and it really seemed like the idea of the Joker in this new cinematic universe, the DC Extended Universe, was dead. It seemed like it wasn't going to go anywhere. There were certain good aspects to that movie, but Jared Leto's Joker wasn't considered one of the highlights. So when this came out, Jared Leto was like, I don't know why they're doing two Joker movies. They've already got me. Anyway, so all that comes out, and then the movie kind of moves to the background. There's a lot of things that sound like maybe it could be either amazing, you know, like, oh, Joaquin Phoenix, Martin Scorsese is attached, you know, that sound like it could be a really good movie. Then there's a lot of things that sound like it could be a disaster. Like, oh man, a Joker movie directed by the guy who did the Hangover movies? That sounds fun. But here's the thing. Regardless of how it sounds, the movie is coming out now and it's getting hailed by critics. It's got a standing ovation at the Venice Film Festival. So the question becomes, what is DC going to do with the rest of its movies? If the Joker comes out and becomes a critical financial success, which I'm pretty sure it will. You know, financial, maybe not secure. Critical, pretty positive. Will DC continue to explore this sort of lukewarm strategy they've been doing with the extended universe? We're not sure, and I think that maybe it's a good idea to pursue this strategy, a standalone movie. There's way less buy-in. You know, if the movie sucks, you can drop it. There's not a guaranteed sequel to all these things, but on the other hand, it doesn't merchandise much as well. You know, nobody's probably going to be wanting to give their kid a Joaquin Phoenix Joker action figure or a Joaquin Phoenix Joker bedspread, but it is sort of the business of movies. Are they going to continue to make these sort of critical, lukewarm movies that have big merchandising, big selling potential, or are they going to focus on making DC a name for phenomenal critical quality? Because the truth is, if this does really well critically, more filmmakers are going to want to work with DC because they'll see that they have the freedom to do movies like this rather than make Suicide Squad 8. And before the Suicide Squad comment gets me in trouble, I do know that James Gunn is now signed on to direct the new Suicide Squad. I'm sure it's going to be great, and it's going to be kind of crazy. I'm sure it's his style, and it will be more of a cinematic universe-y kind of movie. And that's even another question about where that's going to take them in a different direction away from the darker, grittier side of the extended universe. But really the question is, what sort of impact will Joker have on how DC makes movies in the pipeline? Because I think that if it is successful enough, they have good reason to cut the EU and just start over. You know, we have no idea. At this point, it seems like there's a lot of questions about who's going to be staying and who's going to be going. You know, Ben Affleck isn't sure he's going to be staying as Batman. He's said sort of that he's not interested. Henry Cavill isn't probably going to be coming back as Superman. There are sort of side films in the works with The Flash and maybe another Wonder Woman movie and a Harley Quinn movie. But the question is, does this seem as cohesive and worthwhile as a Marvel Cinematic Universe, which had an amazingly tough buy-in, but was backed by a company that felt like they could do it? You know, Disney was sure they could make a cinematic universe out of this, and they put forward all the effort necessary to do it. Whereas DC, it seems like it's sort of falling apart at the seams. They're trying to do all these standalone movies that aren't really leading to much. The people, the big names that they signed on at the beginning of the extended universe are sort of pulling out early. I mean, they had Robert Downey Jr. for 10 years at Marvel, and they can't keep Henry Cavill for more than 3 movies? I don't know. It seems like it might be time for DC to sort of, you know, rack and re-roll. Just start over, especially if the Joker movie, which is a movie that has a better team behind it, that is only dedicated for the one movie, if it can make the critical and financial success threshold past the expanded universe, extended universe movies, whatever it is, then maybe it's time to take that direction. And everybody's kind of been copying the Marvel formula up to this point. I mean, Hasbro talked about doing it. Rob Liefeld talked about doing it with his own creator-owned stuff. But instead of that, why don't we just let the DC CW stuff live on? It's doing successful enough. And then with the film side, focus on films. Focus on a single standalone film instead of what is essentially a giant serialization like back in the 30s. You know, just focus on one movie. And if DC can have those people, have that audience that just wants to go see one good movie, then that can be a completely different niche that they occupy rather than sort of trying to emulate Marvel's success with the cinematic universe. Anyway, so that's this week's headline. You know, I'm sure you guys know by now I like taking this week's news and sort of speculating it into the future. So nothing I said is for sure, nothing I said is guaranteed. I just like speculating, kind of guessing where this is going to take us. I think that if this does well enough critically and financially, then it could become a new DC strategy. But for right now, it's just a conversation. So anyway, I'll see y'all next week. Hopefully. Please come back.